अपने जीवन की यात्रा माइकल फुलवानी जी ने, जिनका प्रारंभिक नाम मोहन फुलवानी था, जिस स्थल पर की वो अब पाकिस्तान में है।
एक्चुअली उस टाइम पाकिस्तान नहीं था, इट वाज अनडिवाइडेड इंडिया। तो उस टाइम तो इंडिया था, पाकिस्तान हैड हैपेंड इन 1947। मेरा पैदाइश हुई थी कराची के अंदर, और आई रिमेंबर फ्रॉम मे बी 5-6 साल के एज के बाद में आई रिमेंबर वट एवर थिंग्स हैपेंड। माई फादर वॉज अ लॉयर देयर इन कराची, एंड आई एट दैट टाइम ओनली व्हेन आई वाज चाइल्ड, 8-9 साल में वैसे लग रहा था मेरे को वकील बनना चाहिए. So that was in Karachi, and we had a very good time there, and I have a lot of memories from there. My school that I used to go, and my uncles that used to there, and basically 1948 में we had to migrate.
29 सितंबर 1936 को उनका जन्म हुआ था. इमिग्रेशन अटर्नी के रूप में भारतीय समुदाय में अमेरिका में इस क्षेत्र का पर्याय बन गए माइकल फुलवानी 25 दिसंबर को हमसे विदा हो गए. वे 84 बरस के थे.
See, different areas. For example, your father, we were very good friends, we enjoyed the life together as good friends and all that, right? Then I might have met some people who were very, let's say, experienced in in their own field, whether it's a legal field, whether it's any other field, people meeting with a lot of information that I got through them.
उनके पीछे उनकी पुत्री और उनकी बहनें और उनके भाई तो हैं ही, परिवारजनों के साथ साथ उनके शुभचिंतकों और उनके मित्रों का एक बड़ा घेरा न केवल न्यूयॉर्क अमेरिका बल्कि भारत में भी उनके साथ निरंतर जुड़ा रहा है.
My brother was born to help others and give. That was his dream and purpose of his life. He came to USA with only $8 in his pocket, maximum foreign currency allowed by India at that time. With no family, no friends, and no place to live, he landed in New York. Taxi wanted $26 for just a ride to downtown. He didn't have $26, so he just sat at the airport and waited. An Indian stranger gave him a ride and dropped him in Queens by the YMCA. He started looking for a job next day. He paid $2 a day at the YMCA to stay and ate popcorn for supper every day. He started working selling luggage at JCPenney and had to ask his boss for advance pay after 3 days because he had no money left. He was a lawyer in India, but they would not let him practice law in USA. So he sued the New York Bar Association and the American Bar Association. He argued in the New York Supreme Court and won. His argument was that if foreign medical graduates can pass ECFMG exam and show they are equal in knowledge to American doctors and practice medicine in this country, why not the attorneys? He won and was the first Indian lawyer to pass the bar exam and was admitted to the New York Bar in 1974. I was with him that day. I came in May of that year. He started his immigration practice. He bought his family, all of us, my brothers, my sister, and my mother. He then bought some relatives and friends, and afterwards he even bought our neighbors to US. He helped everyone, and as a result, thousands of Indian subcontinent and Asia came here to achieve their dream of working hard and making it here.
I know Michael Phulwani from a long time ago. In fact, he was very instrumental in getting me married to my husband. He was a very dear person and a very special person for me in my life. Michael Phulwani and my father, Justice Israni, shared a very special bond. They were friends from high school and college. They knew each other from the time before when my mom and dad were married. So they shared a very, very special relationship. And I grew up seeing Michael Phulwani every year in my life when I was growing up in India. To me, he was always Michael Uncle. And even when I was getting married to my husband, I asked him, is he going to be the right guy for me? And it's only when Michael Uncle said, yes, he's going to be the right guy, I decided to say yes to my husband. So for me, Michael Phulwani has a very special place in my heart.
आज हम इस विशेष प्रस्तुति में जहां माइकल फुलवानी जी के द्वारा हुई कुछ अंतरंग बातचीत का अंश आप तक पहुंचाने वाले हैं, वहीं भारतीय समुदाय के और उनके साथ कार्य करने वाले उनके मित्रों की श्रद्धांजलि भी आप तक पहुंचाने वाले हैं.
So general principles are work hard, be honest, never lie, right? My Sindhi में I'm saying, my mother used to say, जो को चुलसते सो दिलते. That means जो चूल्हे पे है वहाँ वो दिल में भी है. वो गया. What happens when a people dies? Do you still are so close to that person? Even family members, their life, अपनी life होती है शुरू, बच्चे हैं, wife है. Soon they forget all that. Once a while, year में थोड़ा कर देंगे उनका annual कुछ something or something whatever, right? That's the way it is. Life is like that. You cannot live with the people who are no longer here. They were gone. They were gone. So only even thinking. Some people say thinking about your friends or family who are no longer here. Yes, but to an extent. Because if you really, really go back and then you really think about all those things and the death of the person and he's no longer there, she's no longer here, you are basically stopping going forward, right? Because in order to go, respect them and do whatever needs to be done, but spend your life, whatever you can, helping people, you keeping your mind, fit.
Well, Michael was a great friend, very close friend of mine. Me and Michael, we worked together since 1984. He was very active with us in the FIA. That time we fought about immigration and family immigration and all those issues. And we took the buses to the Washington, D.C. and under leadership of Michael Phulwani. And he was the attorney for immigration in our community. And he has a very long-lasting relationship with our newspaper and TV. He wrote a column on the immigration and educated a whole community and about immigration and about visas and about passport and so forth for last almost 35 years. Every week he used to write a column advising our community about different subject of the immigration. And he was really a great attorney. He helped quite thousands of our community members to get the visa, to how to appeal for a visa and so forth.
Michael Phulwani was one of the pioneers with us in 1977 when we incorporated FIA, the Federation of Indian Association. Michael Phulwani was the practicing attorney in USA and in India. He was known for his complete knowledge on USA Immigration and Nationality Act. And he really helped people in immigration matters with complete passion and integrity.
He helped a lot. He also helped other communities, and he helped many of the national promoters to bring the Bollywood over here by his prolific experience and expertise in the immigration matters. We are going to miss him because I don't know who else can replace him, but he has so much love for our community.
In my case, my presence here in America is because of Mr. Phulwani, because he was very close friend of Dr. Bernard Vishnu, was very close friend of my father, Junaji Vyas, and so as friends, he promised his friend in Jodhpur or Jaipur that I'll take one of your son to America, and then he kept on sort of feeding that dream to me, and I was initially not very passionate about America, but every year I would meet him and I would hear stories from him, etc. So, but keeping my side aside, in your case, the choice of your career and then becoming an attorney and getting into the immigration field, was there some sort of impression from Mr. Fulwani that made you take this course?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, Ashokji. I think because of ITV and because of being in New York, I knew that it was going to go into something related to either entertainment law or ultimately being a child and product of immigration. Immigration law seemed like might be a good fit, and ultimately there was sort of a combination of both for many, many, many years. But Mr. Fulwani, I think I've been blessed in some ways to have some very strong mentors in the immigration world, and by all in sense and purposes, he's a power hitter. I mean, pretty much everything I learned about consular processing and visa appointments and how to interact with Department of State officers came from interacting with Mr. Fulwani. Some of my early interactions on things related to waiver applications all came from Mr. Fulwani. He was willing to at an early part of my immigration career, one of the things that I really appreciated with him was he would almost say, like, look, this is what the law says, but let's talk about the practice, the implication of the practice on that law. So he was always willing to sort of throw the Hail Mary, always willing to take the bite, the chance. And he would say to clients all the time, he would say, look, you want to roll the dice, because ultimately we're going to take a chance. This is our theory for how we're going to get you to the promised land, how we're going to win your case. But there's no guarantee on this. And these are the things that are in front of us. And I would tell you, more times than not, he was correct. And if he wasn't necessarily correct per se, it definitely didn't hurt at all. It helped almost always. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that about
As an attorney, communication is very, very important. And let us talk about the communication from media for an attorney to reach out to public at large, to increase their awareness about immigration laws. And he did immigration update or immigration and you for many, many years with Vision of Asia. I think for over 3 decades or so, every week. And I keep repeating it, but there was a time when I think he was like synonymous with immigration attorney as far as the Indian American community is concerned. And part of the credit goes to Vision of Asia, because Vision of Asia and Mr. Fulwani and sort of our community grew together. So talk to me about when you saw him presenting presenting that show, and that is before you became an attorney yourself. So
That's right.
yeah. So
That's
what was your sort of feeling or impression about the way he was educating common men about the political ramifications now and then, or immigration related laws in general for laymen in their language?
Sure. Well, I mean, he in some ways was the standard bearer for what was going on in immigration law. I mean, people would tune into Vision of Asia every week, and they would expect to hear their 10 to 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes a little bit longer if it a special interview of Mr. Fulwani. They wanted to hear what he had to say. He would talk about the visa numbers. He would talk about complications that are occurring. He would talk about how politics was going to affect the immigration world. And being an individual, there was a time period in my life where I thought that that's it. That's all there is. Just listen to Michael Fulwani and you're going to know what's going on in immigration. And I will be very frank about it. I've been to probably 5 different countries where people knew his name, and not just know his name like, oh, I heard about it ethereally, but they really knew Michael Fulwani was the attorney. If you're talking about U.S. immigration, I mean, it's happened in India, it happened in London. I was in the West Indies and talking to people. I mean, really just amazing to see, because there was almost a talk about it as if he was an idol, because you sort of could trust the things that he was saying. Mr. Fulwani had a very easy way to him, authoritative for sure, but an easy way for him to discuss. And he spoke very confidently and clearly in both Hindi and English. What can you say? He was also a very even-keeled man. If he had an opinion about something, it was never overly impassioned. And sometimes people say that sometimes when you're overly impassioned, the point that you're trying to get across gets missed. He was a calculating man, almost always, extremely deep thinking, extremely calculating, and very even keeled. Very rarely did I ever see Mr. Fulwani, get extremely emotional one way or the other about something, even in very serious topics. Not to say that he wasn't emotional. He was an emotional man. He was a sensitive man, but he was able to, I think, take matters and issues in stride and compartmentalize them so that he could always, I think, in his opinion, and obviously from a observational point of view, make the most pragmatic decision, make the most response. He was a pragmatist. He was an opportunist. He was an honorable man, and also, in some ways, I would say he was also a curious man. He was always willing to see what new things were out there. I mean, on top of an immigration attorney, he was a businessman. He owned kosher Chinese restaurant. I mean, kosher Indian restaurants. Those are not things that everybody can talk about. He had the wonderful Shalom Bombay, moniker. Great. So I think that one of the things that you can get out of a person like Mr. Michael Fulwani is that they only come rarely in life. If you're blessed to have the opportunity to interact with people like him, it truly is a privilege. And they don't come around often. And when they do, you try to take as much opportunity as possible to soak in what you can learn from them and what you can absorb from their life. And if you're lucky enough, maybe you can remember some of those stories and pass them on, because they're really almost so precious that they can't just go into oblivion.
Was that he would see things that no other immigration lawyers would see. He would see things in a way, or brought to the table things that I had never been able to see or think of. And I think we were able to extract new ways to look at things. And if you think about it, it's really amazing that we were able to share in those years such incredible information with the community. And I think that people who listened and watched the shows on a weekly basis were sort of inspired, because oftentimes we would get emails or we would get inquiries in our office from people who said, oh, I saw you talking about this. And then he would be able to take what he said to the next level for them, and to be able to solve people's problems, from an immigration law perspective, in ways that I've never seen other lawyers do it. I mean, I think that one of the things that's really amazing is that Michael's legacy is going to live on in our law office, because he was interfacing so closely with our staff. And, that he was able to teach us ways to see the world, the U.S. immigration world, that we didn't think of ourselves. And so we're hoping to bring that to bear on the community in the future, and to help people to continue to realize their American dream, and again, through Michael's legacy.
So, as you were saying, I was reminded he loved his subject. He was so passionate, even when, like, I'm talking about something else, and then he thinks about what
latest change in the immigration law is, then he'll share it with the kind of intensity which only appears if you love what you're doing. And talking about his love for his profession and his sincere concern for his clients, and how immigration laws are instrumental in redesigning many people's lives. So he was very much genuinely concerned about that. And my question to you is, having observed him, having worked him with him, uh, in terms of the way you would consider lessons that we may draw from his life. And I may also take a moment of your time to share that I've seen how caring you were for him, because at later age he could not walk properly, and you were driving him to the studio, and it you had like I he was like uncle to me. You were also very much respectful, as we have in our tradition, for the elders. So there was this multi-layered relationship which I saw both of you cherished. And so, having said that, in terms of the learning from his life, and anything in particular, when you summarize your impressions about Mr. Phulwani?
Well, I think that, and it's kind of telling in terms of timing with the recent election and the new administration coming in, Ashok, that one of the really big lessons is one should always be open to new ideas. One should always be accepting of others for what they are. There was never a time that he closed the door to anything that was new. He was always very open and accepting. And I think that being accepting, and being flexible is these are great personality traits to have. And they will only be helpful to you in the future. These are some of the major takeaways. I think that another, going back to what I was saying before, is about generosity. Being generous with information, and being generous with others, with relationships, truly serves a very important purpose, especially in the things that we do, because this has been sort of the cornerstone of our ability to expand our practice over the years. I've worked for many law firms in the past where folks have not been open in the way that they share information, or the way that they share relationships. It's been sort of a major hurdle to the development of a successful practice. So that was one of the big takeaways from Michael and what he gave. But Michael was just always incredibly accepting of everyone. I have some I have some funny stories I can tell you about traveling with Michael in India. So here I am. You have to understand, 15 years ago, my first trip to India, and I'm a white guy in India, and I'm traveling with Michael, and he's showing me the ropes and everything. And I don't, I can't forget the people who would come and say to him, "Oh, Michael," because in India everyone is very, very proud of their cuisine, from geographical location to geographic location. And Michael would be, someone would say, I want to bring this food, and he would invite them to the hotel, and they would come in to our hotel room with these huge pots of all kinds of different stews and masala, unbelievable. And but he would invite them into our space and say, "Come on, let's all sit, let's enjoy, let's break bread together." And again, that openness, that acceptance, that flexibility is what drove not just his personality, but it drove the success of his practice over the years, which I think is that's no secret. So
David, I appreciate you taking your time and sharing these incredible memories, impressions, and insights. And we will definitely miss him. Our community will miss him. And um, these kind of rare individuals or beings, they leave a trail of light behind. So I think that also have some seeds of inspiration for us to be committed to what we do. And but indeed, he brought a different color of life with him, and he lived with conviction, I would say. And once again, thank you very much, sir.
thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Asha.